missed quite a bit. So I'll kind of start with them. We had Jordan Halverson. She came back this year to pitch and was very grateful. Her leadership was amazing this year. I don't know if she even realized how much of an impact she made on the team just by having her presence out there even. She hit one of the top for us. She was 553 batting average, and she had a 644 on-base percentage, 14 runs batted in, and she was just one of those, such an athletic girl. She gets up to the plate, and the other team takes a step back. And I don't know if she even noticed it half the time, but, I mean, she was a force to be reckoned with out there, whether she, smacked a triple out of there or if she hit just a double. And, she had one triple and two doubles. So, I mean, she was fantastic. And I know this year was kind of difficult with having a 2.5-week season, kind of threw the girls off and stuff, and it kind of put a damper on a little bit, too. I mean, you could definitely tell that it would affect them a little bit more than usual. But, I mean, they still did very well. We were 7 and 10 overall, and 7 and 9 in conference. I mean, the best they've had in since 2005. And I made a point of mentioning to at the banquet on Monday night that I hope they realize just the impact that they made for our community and for our school, with that amazing accomplishment. And I hope they do consider that as they move on, too, because it's a huge step going from 0 wins to 2 wins to 7, even with the change of conference. It's still a fantastic feat for them. So
that's right.
We'll move on to Kenzie Clark here, and one of my other seniors. She was our second baseman. She hit .439 this year, and she was 554 for an on-base percentage with 21 runs scored herself. She had 3 triples, 4 doubles. She was probably my leading scorer. She had 14 stolen bases this year, and multiple games with 2 to 4, stolen bases. So she was one of my leaders. I gave the green light to at all times. I mean, she knew me. She knew my little quirks. So when I wanted her to steal, I could give her a random. I could touch my knee randomly, which isn't even a sign, and she'd know it's exactly what I wanted her to do. So, or she would just take off, and she kind of knew what she was doing anyway. She's just doing fantastic this year.
Okay.
So she'll have another one missed. She was one of my captains this year as well. We have Michaela Dufresne, who was another captain this year, shortstop pitcher. This year she hit .405. Her batting average on base was .596. Did very well. She had about 4 stolen bases, and then she had 2 triples and a double. And then she had 19 runs in herself. Did very well this year as well, shortstop and pitcher. The next one we have is Morgan Thole, Michaela Dufresne was one of the was all conference, was involved all conference by the other coaches this year as well.
Yep.
And Morgan Thole is our second all conference pick this year. And she had .472 batting average with a .459 on base percentage. She had 4 stolen bases, 3 doubles, 12 runs scored, and I can't even count how many diving catches that girl would have. And that was in center field. So as we moved into center field this year, and wasn't the happiest about it at first, but once we started to get down, and she found how fun outfield can be, with the diving, the tricking the different runners, and the challenging that it can have for you. And she really excelled. And that was a comment a lot of the coaches made at conference thing is even in warm up she'd be diving in the outfield. They're like, well, how do you get her to do that? And I'm like, actually, I moved her from the infield out to the outfield because I knew she'd be one of my stronger outfielders. And then we did stuff in preseason, and she loved it. So that's what I did with her, and she just went with it and did very well. Then we have Tara Lackles, our third baseman, another one I've had for the last 4 years. She was .442 batting average with a .510 on-base percentage, 16 runs batted in. She had 5 stolen bases, 2 triples, 5 doubles. Did very well this year for third base as another captain. One of those girls who always had, even in preseason, always had a positive edge, was always pushing the girls, always challenging them during the 2 months inside. So I always commended her for that because you always look to her for that leadership, and she just did wonderful with that role. So, and then we have Questa Stensrud, who was my first baseman this year, one I've also had for the last 4 years. She had a .371 batting average with a .410 or .412 on-base percentage. She had a triple, 2 doubles, and 6 runs scored. Did very well, just a solid player throughout this year and did pretty well. Megan Wilding is our next senior. She was a .351 batting average with a .432 on-base percentage, and she had triple, double, 6 runs scored, and did very well too. Another couple of coaches that are all conference thing also mentioned her and her her power hitting and how some of those girls would take a step back, and thought that was quite a big compliment for her. Coming in, she kind of was another one that got moved to, right field, a little bit of DP, the way she was hitting. So she kind of bounced around a little, my utility player, but always had a smile on her face, too, and I loved it. The girls looked up to her quite a bit, so it was very nice to see. And then we'll go into kind of my younger classman year, now that I got my seniors done.
Okay.
Sarah Halderson was one of my most consistent pitchers. She's my sophomore, my youngest one. So luckily I get her for 2 more years now. She hit .316 on batting average with a .429 on base percentage. She had 7 runs in. She had a triple. Her main thing was pitching, and she filled in some extra roles in the outfield, or not the outfield, the infield this year, shortstop, when we needed her or something, and did a fantastic job there. I think the first year I put her out there, she had two or three tag plays, a couple, stolen bases, robbed from people from stolen bases. Her and Allie Jensen, when they were teamed up, and just did really well. And wherever I put her, she just thrived. So she did very well there. Jenny Arnold, that was one of my outfielders. She unfortunately got injured halfway through the season. Her foot was really bugging her, and she had to go into the doctor a few times, and was very unhappy about it, let me tell you the least. She did not want to sit, but she did very well in the outfield. She's another one that we moved out there and just thrived. She had .222 batting and on-base percentage. She hit a run in for us in the outfield there and did very well. And then we had our other 2 outfielder short sophomores. Allie Jensen was one of our catcher. She's probably one of our bigger offensive leaders this year. Her stats weren't as high as other ones, but she's one that had 2 home runs, 3 triples, doubles. She only had 2 runs in, but she hit in quite a bit of RBIs. She had over 10 RBIs. The leader for RBIs on our team. She was a .324 batting average, .463 on base percentage, and she actually won our offensive MVP of the year. And many of the other coaches in the conference talked about her quite a bit at our meeting too, and they couldn't believe she's only a sophomore and that she was doing as well as she did. And yeah, she hit a home run, and you think she'd hit 80 of them the way she acted. She just got the ball, went back and sit down, trying not to put the huge grin on her face, which I don't know how she could have done that, because I would have had a grin from ear to ear on every single one of them.
Yeah.
But she did well, and she even had a grand slam early in the season too, and she was pretty, I couldn't even begin to describe the look on her face. It was priceless.
Good.
Next one we're going to go down to Morgan Croat. She was my freshman. She had a .308 on-base batting percentage with a .469 batting or on-base percentage. She was one of them that filled in whenever Allie was in the outfield. Her and Morgan would trade off, or Morgan would go in the outfield and have some fun, as they would say it, and they just did very well together. She had 7 runs, 2 stolen bases in the year for Morgan. So that's kind of our main 11 that we had. We did have Kylie Larson come up, and she helped out quite a bit. And then the Minnesota game, I think, is where she really shined. She was base was loaded in the bottom of because we had 5 innings for the bottom of the 6th, and she's one that hit. It was in the books. It went down as a single, but it was a triple, and scored the winning run to win that game, that close game. And
yeah, that was on Saturday, right?
That was on a Saturday. That was one of our rainouts that we had on a Saturday, and ended up being a beautiful day. She did well. So kind of looking for the girls that are coming up, we have Kylie Larson, Tanaya Tassel, McClay Wolfschlager. We have Maya Pettit. Are going to be some of the ones to look for as we get older. Chelsea Kuchenmeister. All those girls that are going to be coming up from our 8th grade and stuff, and 9th grade for our next year's season. And as we go on, as we know, we're not going to have any seniors next year, so we may have a little bit of rebuilding for a little bit, get over our hump. Once those girls with those conferences going, I think we're going to just shine, because we're going to have these girls for so long. So it's going to be really nice to see. And then we had our, like I said, we had our banquet on Monday, so I'll go into our end of the year stuff.
Yep.
We had MVP overall. I don't want to overall MVP. That's no fun. Let's go with most improved first. Most improved, and these these were voted by the girls. So most improved this year was Jordan Halverson, with coming back and doing very well, in Morgan Croat. Our Spirit Award was Morgan Thole, who, if anyone knows Morgan, she's a huge goofball and always gets the girls going. Defensive MVP, we have Mackenzie Clark. offensive MVP, we have Allie Jensen and Megan Wilding. And our overall MVPs, and we have a three-way tie for this. We had Tara Lackles, Mackenzie Clark, and Jordan Holverson. And then our all-conference, which I kind of mentioned before, all-conference votes were Michaela Dufresne and Morgan Thole. And then honorable mention was Mackenzie Clark. And then we did vote captains this year. Right away, the Lagapal is kind of going into a different way of doing captains. For softball there. I usually don't vote till the next year, so we really test to see how much